In this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how Danko is currently making $5 million per year from his coaching business built on an extremely lean and efficient way, resulting in over 98% profit margins, which is absolutely insane. So let's just dive straight into it. Now, in this video, we're going to be going over every single step of the process. So number one, how he's been able to achieve high quality traffic. After that, how he's able to educate these interested leads that he's getting from the traffic. And then number three, how he's eventually converting these interested leads that, came from the high quality traffic, turn into interested leads, and then eventually get converted. So, of course, we need to start with the high quality traffic because it's the same thing with every single high ticket coaching offer. If your traffic sucks, then you're not going to make any money because it really comes down to the example of, let's say you go to a village in wherever, and the whole village, they're extremely thirsty, they all want water, and you come there and you're like, okay, I have water to sell you. You can have all the water in the world, but your water is $5, and every single person inside of that village only has a maximum of $1 each to spend, right? The problem is that even though they're really thirsty, and even though that they really want the water that you're selling, they simply can't afford it, right? And it's the same thing when you're selling high ticket products. So usually you want to avoid attracting countries like, let's say, India, Africa, and all these kinds of countries, because their wages tend to be lower. And if you tell them a specific price point, it may be out of their budget, right? And that's a problem that we end up seeing with a lot of these kinds of offers. So you want to be, first off, with your content targeting, let's say, the European countries, America, and more so first world countries, right? And this is exactly what he's doing really well with his funnel. So let's take just the first example. Let's just go into X, right? You can see here he's pretty big on X, with around 500,000 followers, right? And what he's focusing on is short form and long form threads. Long form threads once a week, short form threads every day, and it's his main social media to keep everybody engaged, right? Right. He's really, really big on threads, X, with 500,000 followers, and I would even say this is his second biggest sort of lead stream after YouTube, right? YouTube is without a doubt his biggest place where he's essentially being able to collect all of these leads, just because, well, first off, he has 800,000 followers on YouTube, and second of all, his content is, not only is his content good, but it's also really long, right? Okay, so here's a bad example over here, but if we go into this video right here, I mean, this is 35 minutes long and 90,000 people saw it, which is absolutely insane, right? He's really good at posting long form content. And the good thing about long form content is that the more the viewer watches your content, the more they know, like, and trust you, right? It's the same thing everywhere. And it doesn't, like, you can't get a viewer's trust with a 60-second Instagram video, right? Or even a 6-minute YouTube video. But when you're posting 35-minute videos, 40-minute videos, another 40-minute video, 36, 37, I mean, these videos are always around 40 minutes long. You're doing a really good job, and you're able to pretty much get your viewers' trust really well just because of how long the videos are, right? And there's no crazy editing inside of these videos. They're just long, raw videos, and they're all about education and philosophy. And every single piece of content is essentially a VSL when it comes to Danko's funnel, because he specializes sort of in the next level persuasion space, and every single video he's always hitting hard call to actions, and he's always making call to actions just because he wants to be as efficient as possible with his lead flow, right? So let's say with YouTube, this is his biggest lead sort of like stream of leads coming in. This is what his description kind of looks like. So first of all, what I want to point out here, and what I don't recommend when you're starting out, only because he's getting so many leads, so many views, he has this right here. So this is essentially like his affiliate section, right? He has his book, writing and content. So I guess he kind of has his course, make your own work, and then live. So this is pretty much just a course too, right? So this is kind of like his own product, and this is kind of like his affiliate kinds of things. But what we want to focus on is this right here. So Cortex is essentially his coaching company, and then you have join Cortex waitlist. So we have the waitlist right here, and then join free community plus. He's giving them a little bit of a lead magnet right here. So community.cortex, and at the very bottom, he's giving them a little bit more content. And then, of course, he has his other social media platforms where he can pretty much keep them inside of the ecosystem, right? And then after that, we have LinkedIn. Obviously, this is a huge play for him, around 150,000 followers, which is absolutely insane. And, he's really just reposting content. So it's the long form content just adapted to the platform, right? He's still showing them the same content as he would be, for example, on Instagram. It's just adapted to the LinkedIn platform. And then when we go over to Instagram, it's also fairly simple. So he's actually really big on Instagram too, with 1.6 million followers. And, he's just giving them hints of philosophy and beliefs, right? So just quick advice and, X kind of redesigned into his IG, right? He's kind of posting the same stuff just onto his IG. And if you want to learn more about how you can use the same method as Dan Koe with his Instagram specifically, just DM me HTO on Instagram. I'll send you a little bit of a free guide. The Instagram's going to be in the description. And moving on to the TikTok, pretty simple. It's the exact same stuff as he has on IG. And, it's really just reposting the stuff. And he has around 350,000 followers on IG, so still fairly big. And then, of course, we can't forget about podcasts. I like to mention podcasts in all of these videos because what he's essentially doing is he's able to go into Matt Gray's YouTube channel as an example, and he can pretty much steal Matt Gray's audience because Matt Gray's regular audience is pretty much getting to know Dan Koe now inside of this new podcast. And this is allowing for him to take Matt Gray's audience just because he's getting onto his podcast. Matt Gray's regulars are also getting on, listening to them because obviously they like Matt Gray. And, they might think, oh, this guy, Dan Koe, he's pretty cool. Let me go ahead and follow him. Get inside of their ecosystem and eventually buy something from this guy, right? And again, like 90,000 views, that's pretty good on a 53-minute video. Or here again, 180,000 views, still extremely good on a 30-minute video, right? And his podcast is a script of the YouTube videos essentially, and podcasts aren't really that frequent. So he's not focusing on podcasts, but it's still a pretty big priority just because of how long the content can be with podcasts and how well you can eventually get them into your ecosystem. So as you guys have learned right here, he's getting so much traffic, right? It's an insane amount of traffic, right? We have X, we have YouTube, we have LinkedIn, we have Instagram, we have TikTok, and we have podcasts. And all of this traffic needs to eventually go somewhere, right? And this next part of the process is essentially called a funnel inside of the marketing world. And the important thing about funnels and what you really need to get through your head is that it's quality over quantity, right? So everything depends on one single piece of content every single week, right? So he's pretty much really dialed in his ICP, right? He knows exactly there's one base skill they want to learn about. It's writing, right? There's various deep topics, but they're all kind of in the same space about like the educational space, the philosophy space, and it's all about writing. It's the same pillars with new angles and views, right? So being a solopreneur, a writer, and building a personal brand, and every piece of content is a sales letter wrote down or recorded, right? So he's always having a call to action at the end of every single piece of content just because he isn't wasting any leads and he's just being really lead efficient, right? So number two, the second step of his process is actually educating these interested leads because they're like, okay, this guy's project or, whatever he's selling seems cool, but nobody's going to buy anything that they're not educated about, right? A confused buyer is never going to buy from you. And that's a really important thing to know. So he has pretty much two kind of opt-ins, I guess you could say. And the main thing that he's doing is he's collecting names, emails, and phone numbers only inside of his courses, just because he is building an email list. And obviously email marketing is a really big part of his strategy. But let's just start to just take a little bit of a small look at his free course right here. Fairly simple. It just educates people on the core values of his content, and it's a free resource to start your personal brand based on writing, right? So pretty much start a writing personal brand similar to Dan Koe. They're watching Dan Koe's content and they want to be Dan Koe, and he's essentially giving them that guide and bridging the gap of getting to the point where, they're posting similar content to Dan Koe, right? And second of all, obviously we have his newsletter. Like I just mentioned, he's getting all of these opt-ins, he's getting all of these email addresses, names, and phone numbers. Obviously he needs to do something with this. So right here, we also have just a page where you can just sign up to his newsletter, and it's the same content every week. He has around 175,000 people on his newsletter, and it goes out every Saturday. And every newsletter goes to a blog. So as you can see here, here's just an example of a blog right here. And, just a few examples of the things that he's saying. So for example, how to focus for 12 hours a day on your purpose, right? And then your purpose, he'll be like, what's your purpose? And then he's going to pretty much be getting the people who are into writing, he's going to be filtering those in so that he can eventually call to action, right? Or the depth or the personal brand. He's pretty much telling them, this is kind of like a hook, right? It's obviously there's no depth to personal brands, but he's just telling them so that they click on it, right? And at the end, he's call to actioning so that they can start building their personal brand and that he can sell more of his product. Or the truth about money and how to make a ton of it, right? It all centers back to the personal brand, right? You need a personal brand to make a ton of money. And he's always going into this, right? So it's instant access to his personality and brand values, and it's just a lot quicker to consume, right? So now first off, he has all of this traffic right here, right? So we have X, we have YouTube, we have LinkedIn, we have Instagram, we have TikTok, and we have podcasts. They're getting inside of this ecosystem and they're consuming all of this content, right? And then after this, they're going into his newsletter. So eventually they're going to opt into the newsletter and, start consuming some of his content. And now we need to actually convert these interested leads. And this is the last step of the process and the most important step of the process, because you can get all of the views in the world. You can have all of the interested leads in the world. But if you're not able to convert these interested leads, it's not going to work, right? And it's as simple as that. So he's selling quite a few things right now, right? Number one, we have his book, which is The Art of Focusing by Dan Koe. And it's pretty much like the most pushed product, right? And number one, it builds authority because like, wow, this guy's selling a book. It's a straight sell, it's a pretty low price, kind of like an ascension funnel where, let's say, for example, he has the $10 book. And then after the $10 book, he's buying into the course, which let's just say for the example of this is going to be $100. And then eventually, he's going to be getting inside of the ecosystem. Let's say he buys the software too for $50 a month. And then, eventually after they're in the ecosystem long enough, they might buy a 10K price point product, which could be, for example, a few calls with Dan Koe or a mentorship or whatever it could be, right? And now the biggest part, pretty much the biggest money seller, well, not money seller, that doesn't make any sense, but the biggest cash collector for him is his course, right? And, it's pretty simple inside of his landing page when he's selling the course, we have the headline and promise. So learn the recession-proof skill for digital economy without spending 4 years and $42,599 on a degree. So pretty engaging copywriting. We have the call to action right here. Join 12,373 students. And, obviously we have the subtext of implement our 2-hour content ecosystem with the Notion template to learn high impact digital writing, boost your online authority, and systemize content creation for rapid growth. Right after here, we have a pretty influential testimonial. We've also seen this inside of Iman Gachi's AFL funnel, where we had a pretty well-known person. As you can see here, over 500 million views, it says right here, and he's just giving him a really good testimonial. After that, let me just delete this right here so we can actually see it. It says, the world is shifting. Nobody wants to be a commodity. And then he's pretty much just breaking all of your beliefs inside of this text right here. And then again, he's saying introductions and lessons. So he's just introducing himself right here. Hey, I'm Dan. Although if they're on this page, they probably already know that. This is the most important part where he's actually breaking their beliefs. And then right here, he's talking about why writing is so important. Your clients are online and you need to be creative, right? So it's pretty long text, but there are call to actions here. For example, if they just end up, I just got out of my pen. But if they, for example, just click here straight away, like they're going to get to the bottom of the page, right? So after all of this text, obviously, like they need to go through this text first because they're not getting onto a sales call. There's nothing in between. It's just this text right here. They have call to actions in between. So I'm ready to enroll. And then we have the second influential testimonial of this other guy who's the creator of Saturday Solopreneur newsletter. And he's also essentially just giving him a testimonial. He's talking about how it actually works. He's giving them another call to action. So just call to actions everywhere. A third influential testimonial. And by the way, you might be thinking, okay, this is too much, but you need to be doing something like this if you're just selling for your sales page and no actual sales call in between, right? Another thing right here, what you'll learn, he's going a little bit more in depth onto this too with another call to action at the bottom right here. After here, he's just spamming testimonials. We see this in Charlie Morgan in his funnel. We see this in Andrew Tate's funnel. We see this in Iman Gachi's. He doesn't push as much testimonials. He kind of is his own testimonial. But we see this in a lot of high performing funnels where they're just absolutely spamming case studies, right? Then he's talking about what they're going to be getting inside of here. Again, like you need to be doing this if you're just selling for your sales page. Then he's not giving them a guarantee. So he's just saying like, I might disappoint you. And, he's just saying like he's not giving guarantees, building even more trust with, you can see here some video testimonials right here actually with some pretty credible people. And, the funnel really just keeps going. So why you need it now, right? He's pretty much giving them a little bit of, I guess you could kind of say, scarcity. And then he's introducing the prices right here. So there's 3 different courses, and there's a constant upsell. So, right, like the lowest barrier to entry, we have the 2-hour writer, which is $150, giving them access to some pretty basic stuff. Obviously, you guys are watching this funnel. I don't think you guys really care too much what's inside of here. The point is that it's an ascension, so upsell to upsell, where we have the $350 as the second price point, and then we have the $999 as the third price point, right? So after this, we're just answering some pretty easy Q&As, and then the last objection handling inside of the DMs, right? So it just says send me a DM here, and then if they have any further questions, he's going to have an appointment setter inside of there to actually close them on the pretty mid-ticket products, right? And then the last thing that he has is a software, right? It's called Cortex, and it's pretty much just called, well, it's not called, well, it is the second brain for creators, and it's strictly connected to his educational, right? So it builds enterprise value, first of all, and it has the potential to exit for millions, or maybe even tens of millions, depending on how big he grows it, right? So now you might be asking yourself, is he doing everything alone, right? He's been able to build everything himself with only a few freelancers, right? He's on high profit margins. He sticks to his ideals, and everything is based on writing. But do you need to be like Dan Koe to just make a ton of money with info? That's the thing. No, because Dan is an exception to the rest of us of just sort of like all of the big info sellers, right? They all have a team behind them. And if you're either a coach or a creator and want to build or scale your info product so that you can only focus on actually getting traffic and getting your clients results, when we actually get you all of these high ticket clients, I just want someone to take care of the rest, someone to build all the landing pages, do all of the backend optimization, find an appointment setter, find a closer, get all of the process in place so that you can just start making more content and getting your student results. If you want to understand how we can build you $1 million empire, just DM me the word HTO, or not the word, the keyword HTO on Instagram. So let me just type it out for you guys right here again. HTO, this is what you need to DM me on Instagram if you're either a coach or a creator. And if you're also just someone making over $10,000 per month in sort of a make money online business model, you can also DM me this word, and I'll help you start selling info products, teaching other people how you can actually start doing what you're doing right now. So with that in mind, you can DM me this on Instagram, or if you have any other questions about anything I talked about inside of this video, you can also DM me the word HTO on Instagram, or just DM me your questions straight up on Instagram, and I'll get back to you pretty soon. So that's it for the video. If you guys have any questions, just DM me on Instagram.